Well, good morning. I'm Jeff Coleman.
And I'm Debra Pinkerton. Welcome to Morning Light. We begin this morning with that deadly shooting in Manhattan where a man killed 4 people, including a New York City police officer, and critically injured a 5th person before turning the gun on himself. And just last week, a man stabbed 11 people at a Walmart in Michigan. He is facing several charges, including terrorism.
Incredible, horrific. Well, we do not understand the way evil works in the world. I think in a morning like today, it's good to remind ourselves that God is firmly in control and that he grieves with those who grieve this morning. Turning to other news, since the Israeli-Gaza conflict started October 7th, 2023, 21 months ago, we've promised to keep you updated on new developments. We'll take you live to the Sea of Galilee for a frontline report about those who are caught in the crossfire.
Meanwhile, here's a preview of what's coming up later in the show. Learn how you can live the life you imagine. Garden Spot Communities offers an engaging lifestyle for those 55 and older.
It's a long way off for me, years.
Really?
Yeah, well.
The CEO is here to tell us about a brand new community they are building right here in the city of Harrisburg.
Well, in a major break with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, President Donald Trump disputed his claim there is no starvation in Gaza, calling the images of malnourished children, quote, real. The president says he is working with European allies to set up food distribution centers. This development follows mounting criticism of Israeli military actions by longtime allies like France and the UK.
And in the meantime, while we have these reports of widespread starvation and Israeli military aggression against civilian targets, it has intensified. This follows an attack on the only Catholic church in Gaza last Thursday. 3 people were killed, 10 injured, including the parish priest. The Israeli government later said it regretted the attack and it was the result of stray ammunition. Christianity Today reports the Christian population in Gaza has been caught in the crossfire with just under 700 Christians remaining.
Very difficult to understand, I think, for all of us who are looking at news, not knowing where to go, who to trust. But in Israel, like Ukraine, war changes the way Christian frontline workers serve and share the gospel. So before we turn to our panel for their insights, we go to the Holy Land and the beautiful retreat center at Magdala on the shores of the Sea of Galilee. Our friend Father Eamon Kelly is the host of a daily live devotional sunrise stroll and chat on YouTube and Facebook. I watch it frequently and has a deep concern for unfolding events in Gaza and around the world. Father Kelly, of course, has appeared on this program on Lighthouse TV at the State of Independence with Joe Watkins. Good morning, Father Kelly, and thanks for taking time to speak with us on Morning Light.
I'm so happy, Jeff. Thank you for inviting me.
It is a great honor, And you're standing there, I know, in front of an extraordinary sight. If you go to Magdala, the Magdala website, you'll see just why that is so significant. I want to show you a quick video this morning of that was posted on social media of the chaos that has been happening over the past few weeks in Gaza. Father Kelly, it is these kinds of sites on social media, I think, are very difficult for us to understand and almost have any kind of human connection to it. We see so much of it. In fact, our algorithm gives us what we want to see and often filters out what we don't want to see. How do we develop a heart of compassion for everyone involved in this conflict, and not just for people that we follow with interest or who makes the evening news?
I think you're putting your finger on a very big wound or need in our world today. We have, unfortunately, a little bit lost sight of the dignity of every human being. And we have very deep expressions of that in Western world, especially. In many ways, there are 120 conflicts going on in the world, and we express interest in a couple of them. People are suffering immensely in many, many areas of the world. And so, I don't know, I'm 2 hours away from Gaza by car. So I'm really not in there, but I know some of the people who were. I know some of the sisters who are working there. I spent time with them last summer here. I've been in Gaza myself twice, but years ago in 2008, before that conflict at the end of the year, and afterwards in 2009. And it was quite an impression to be there. I was raised on a farm without electricity. We had a horse working on the farm. We didn't have a telephone.
In Ireland, not Israel.
Exactly, in Ireland in the, let's say, the early 60s.
Yeah.
And it just took me back there because the cars were parked because they didn't have gasoline back that time, but they still had their houses. And what's really shocking is I don't really indulge much in media at all, except what I produce and send out. But
right.
the scenario there was shocking when I just saw some pictures where the patriarch had visited, the two patriarchs, the Greek Orthodox and the Catholic patriarch Pizzaballa. And I was actually at ground zero. I served and had ministry in New York at that time, and I spent a lot of time at ground zero, and the destruction was overwhelming to digest and to fathom.
So let me ask you about this. When you think about your experience at ground zero, when you see the images out of the church and the damage done to the church, and then that's the epicenter of all that is happening just in one small piece of the world. There are many who love Jesus, who want to do the right thing, but have a very difficult time saying there's anything I can do. What is a believer, a follower of Christ, to do in a moment of great desperation? Take a minute on that.
At the end of the day, as believers, we believe that God has the world in his hands. And each of our lives, even if a cancer strikes, an accident on the road strikes, an act of violence like unfortunately happened in New York yesterday with more deaths inside of an office building. Concrete people have to deal with that. They are faces and names and hearts and feelings and sentiments and tragedies to deal with. It's a culture we live in. We discard people in the West. We discard people. We don't let them get born. 74 million now. We also pull the plug on people. There's a very complex issues involved with all of that, but also there becomes an attitude that it's possible to terminate the life of people. And once we allow that by law, and we even tax people to provide it as a service,
right,
then we have entered a phase of Western civilization and culture where the human being is a disposable, like everything, like a piece of plastic, like any other an old car. It's a disposable. We can go on without them.
Father Kelly, we have about 20 seconds left. For people who say prayer, you say right, hopes and prayers, and they hear Christians saying this all the time. There's no power in prayer. How do you view prayer in a moment like this? Just 20 seconds.
The strength for parents to educate their children to be a new generation, that they will see the world differently, that they will learn to see the human being as the image and likeness of God.
Beautiful. Father Kelly, an honor always to be with you. Thank you for your witness every morning along the Sea of Galilee, reminding us of the truth of God's love for us and his care and concern for the entire world. Glad to have you. We'll see you again.
God bless you, Jeff.
God bless you. Well, we're going to take a deeper dive onto this topic with our Morning Light panel this morning. Jeff Wakeen, Dr. Dan Spanjer, and back with us, Pastor Josh Robertson. Gentlemen, you heard him talk about, Father Kelly was connecting a lot of things. He was connecting the war in Gaza, 120 world conflicts. He was talking about the devaluing of human life, new laws in the UK on abortion and euthanasia. And we have, the world is discounting life. We're in a moment of deep despair. Dan, he's talking about how we cultivate with our children a new reverence and respect for life so that we don't just view these as moments, episodic moments on Instagram. How do you do that? It's really difficult to get our head around this moment.
Yeah, and I think partly sometimes what the media does is it tends to objectify people in pictures, right, in social media posts, and even the news can do that, right? And I talked to a pastor one time about this who had said, look at your area, draw a circle a mile around your home. Who's suffering there? And take the empathy you've learned to develop by seeing those things and then focus on the people. And you probably have people in the neighborhood who might be suffering who you can actually meet their need. Take that empathy and use it.
Jeff, we talk a lot about the power of prayer, how you've seen it in your own life. There are people who are sitting at the home today and feeling overwhelmed by what's happening in New York, what's happening in Gaza. And the world mocks the idea that prayer has any effect on these situations. You Christians with your hopes and prayers. It's almost a cliche now. Why is prayer critical in a moment like this?
I think leaning into what understanding that the Lord is in control of absolutely everything, and really in prayer with God, just to turn it over, to submit, to, you know, I mean, it's not our will, it's His will, and it really is. A lot of our prayer is really centered around, this is what I think you're calling me to do next. Yeah. Validate that for me. Show me the way, direct my steps, and make it clear to me to do that. Beautiful.
You are in a place in which is, in its own way, has challenges and beautiful bright spots in the city of Harrisburg. How do you develop with kids you're working with who have sometimes very hard home lives, who've experienced violence, whose parents are incarcerated, and then they see images in Gaza or the Ukraine or Nigeria or these other places and say, I just can't get my head around that. Why is it important for them to make that connection, to see that they're a part of a much larger story?
I think one of the things that is plaguing American culture is this individualistic mentality that I think we bring to life in the world, right? This desire and the acquisition of personal autonomy, as opposed to from even the age of a child, teaching that we are interdependent, not independent. So I think as Americans, we really need to look at what we really value. I see more and more people just wanting to be isolated by themselves, easily disengage in relationships, and disengage in relationship without even discussing what happened or trying to seek for reconciliation or redemption. So when you have a culture like that, then I think we're passing it to our kids where they can see someone else suffering just like how they suffer, or to a degree better or worse, and not bat an eye.
Which connects Gaza to New York, to Nigeria, to Syria, to all of these places around the world. Final 30 seconds. If someone is saying, okay, I'm gonna begin to develop Christ's heart for the hurting around me, how do you pray? What are the words that you should be saying? Is it just help them? Is it something different?
No, I think it's always helped them, right? I think that's always one of the key parts of prayer. But the other part of prayer really is me, right? Lord, take away the scales from my eyes. Open my understanding to the sensitivity and need of others. Because I think when we come to God, it's not that God's not in control, it's that we are not in control. Wow. So we come to Him to ask, show me where I'm not and show me what. And I think that what you said is really important, Jeff. What do I need to do? How do I need to see this, Lord? And use prayer as God's chance to tell you, how do you need to see this differently, and what sensitivity do you need to build in to understand and love your neighbor?
It feels like we've got to build some space in to listen to those responses. So, gentlemen, thank you. You'll be with us again. Josh, we'll see you again soon. So, really appreciate your insight this morning. Well, coming up on Morning Light, it can be tough choosing a 55-plus independent living community, but the faith-based Garden Spot community can help. The CEO is here to share details. You're watching Morning Light right here on Lighthouse TV.
Welcome back. A Lancaster County 55-plus community is all about vibrant living, and it's faith-based. Joining me is Steve Lindsey, CEO of Garden Spot Communities. Thanks for being with us. So talk to us about Garden Spot Communities.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Garden Spot Communities is a faith-based nonprofit organization based out of Lancaster County that serves people 55 and over. And so we're affiliated with the Mennonite Church. We have our main campus retirement community that's located in New Holland, Pennsylvania. About 1,100 people live there. Then we have smaller campuses in Montgomery County and in Akron, Pennsylvania.
So how did this community begin?
Yeah, it's a fascinating story. There was a local Mennonite businessman named Victor Weaver, and he had lived a life serving others. And so he wanted to leave a legacy of service to others as well. So he got together a group of friends and family, church friends, and they started talking about what that would look like, and settled on this idea of developing a retirement community in eastern Lancaster County. So Victor passed away before it came to fruition, but his son Dale took up the cause and brought it into being in New Holland.
So how do you weave the gospel into the everyday living?
That's a great question. Because I think the gospel is more than just how we worship on Sunday, right? The gospel, Jesus said, was he was bringing the kingdom of heaven to earth. And so the challenge for us is, how do we live as these outposts of the kingdom of God here on earth in a challenging world? And so our mission statement talks about this idea that we're inspired by the life of Jesus to cultivate vibrant community for purposeful living. So as we look at the life of Jesus and the teachings of Jesus, we just believe that there's so much in all of that that teaches us how to live well in community together. Ideas like we should love everyone, even our enemies. We should welcome everyone to the table, because that's what Jesus did. We should serve others, because if we truly love them, it compels us to move in their direction. We should care for the marginalized, because Jesus felt that that was critically important, to care for those, to serve those who are oppressed. We should be a people of peace and reconciliation, and on and on. And what we find is, when you have a community that's focused on those values, that's living out that kingdom life, it causes us to begin to think bigger thoughts about what is our purpose, what's God's calling on me at this season of life, and how do I use all of my life experience, all of my wisdom, all of my giftedness in order to serve others around me. It makes it really special.
It does, and it's something really, I think, when you're thinking about making this move into a community, you really, no matter where you're living, it's something that you really do need to pray about and really listen to which way God is leading you.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many great retirement communities around this area and around the country. But each one has its own culture. And so to connect with that, to understand where your calling is, what God is leading you into in the season of life, is really important.
And what we were talking earlier, and you had mentioned something about you really work with the younger generation.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that.
Yeah, we believe that's really important. The Stanford Center on Longevity produced a white paper a couple years ago. And in that white paper, they said, in the last 100 years, we as a society, as a culture, have gone from being one of the most age-integrated cultures to one of the most age-segregated. And so we've looked at that and said, what can we do in order to swing the pendulum back the other way? So we have an early learning center that brings the kiddos over to our campus once a week. We have a local school that brings their 8th grade students every year to get training in dementia education, and then they come back and volunteer in our memory support center and interact with people who are living with dementia in that setting. And do that as a group. It's just incredible. We've got residents who are serving at Kenbrook Camp this summer as grandparents and residents, because again, the kiddos there are coming in with all kinds of anxiety, and they just need that loving, peaceful presence in their life. And then we've got a program that we're really excited about called our Wisdom Project. And that's an opportunity for people to take about an 8-month course and begin to harvest the wisdom of their own life, to begin to think through all of their life experience, all of their things that they've learned. What can they distill out of that God has given them in this gift of wisdom that then they can share with future generations? So that wraps up about September, and that group of people teams up with some incoming freshmen at Elizabethtown College for a course around the wisdom of the elders. And they get to share a semester together, learning from one another and mentoring one another and sharing life together. And the impact has just been profound in that. It's really fantastic. But that's an indication of what we should be doing as we reach this season of life, right? We have this biblical mandate to invest in future generations. And so we need to break through those generational barriers.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful. We do need to take a break, but I know we have more to talk about moving this community here into Harrisburg. So we'll talk about that coming up. So coming up next on Morning Light, Garden Spot Communities was recently in the news. We will find out how this faith-based community is expanding to the Harrisburg area. That's next. Garden Spot Communities was recently in the news. The faith-based organization is teaming up with a local real estate company to convert a Harrisburg high-rise building into apartments. Back with me is Steve Lindsey, CEO of Garden Spot Communities. So tell us about this new venture.
Yeah, we're really excited about this. We've had an opportunity to team up with Harristown, which is a nonprofit development company in Harrisburg, and to provide an opportunity for people to live in the city in a really vibrant downtown walkable experience. And so it's adaptive reuse. We're repurposing this 8-story office building, historic building, right on the shores of the Susquehanna River, and providing a new life for that, an opportunity for 39 apartments for people to live there and serve in Harrisburg.
And why was it so important to bring this faith-based community to Harrisburg?
Yeah, we think Harrisburg, first of all, has a lot to offer. There's cultural offerings, there's entertainment, there's great restaurants, all those kind of things. But more importantly is this idea that we have this calling to serve, right? That it's important for us to live out our sense of purpose and service to others. And so we look at Harrisburg and we say there's this whole city, this whole opportunity that if we can bring a group of people in who have thought about their wisdom, who have thought about their lives and how they can use all of their life experience to serve others in the city, team up with nonprofit organizations, team up with churches, and do all of the good work that needs to be done. Pastor Josh was just talking about that a little bit ago, of all the needs that exist. Well, we have an opportunity to move into that setting for our own, benefit and all the things that Harrisburg provides, but also to serve.
Yeah, that is beautiful. What type of difference do you hope to make?
Yeah, I think that's just it. We have a chance to really reach into the lives of people, to come into it with our own wisdom and our own sense of calling, and then team up with some of those areas that Pastor Josh was talking about, to be able to make an impact in the lives of people who are there, to lean in their direction, to help them to recognize that God cares about them, that they're loved by someone. And we've had Harrisburg University has already reached out and said, we'd like to collaborate on some things with you. And then there's so many other nonprofits that we can find opportunities. So this group of people that's moving in, whatever their passion is, whatever their calling is, there are opportunities in Harrisburg to serve.
And when we were talking earlier, you had said that there will be someone there actually helping direct them to different opportunities.
Exactly. We'll have a staff person in the building working with those people that live in those 39 apartments, making connections, making sure that they're living life to the full.
So talk to us about the details. Construction.
Yeah, it's an 8-story building. We've started on the 8th story a couple of weeks ago and doing demolition, working our way down through. Another couple of weeks, we'll start with construction. By the end of this year, we'll be able to tour people who might be interested through those apartments. And then we'll be leasing up in the spring and opening for people to move in by April.
Certainly. An opportunity for people to make a difference in this case, the Harrisburg area.
It truly is. Yeah.
Thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
And if you would like more information about Garden Spot Communities and this new apartment complex in Harrisburg, visit gardenspotcommunities.org. Stay with us. We are back right after the break. Welcome back. Coming up tomorrow on Morning Light, our Body and Soul series continues. Learn what the Bible has to say about exercise. And have you heard of Zumba? Well, we will show you how this form of dance gets you into shape. And that's a look at what's coming up tomorrow on Morning Light. Now, Jeff, your closing thoughts?
Don't miss Debra dancing tomorrow. It's going to be a great show. Well, a friend of mine lost her mom in October to heart disease, far too young, much too early. It was a death which didn't line up with anyone's plans, certainly hers. For my friend, it might as well have been a meteor landing on her entire life. Why? Well, because Mom was always there in the audience. She always had the answer. She carried her through all of those wonderful victories, all those incredible moments in life, picked her up in defeat. Since then, she's been saying almost every day, God, why? On repeat. The loss is still so very raw. but for my friend, my God-trusting, Jesus-believing friend. And for you, many of you in our audience this morning are grieving the loss of the person who was your right hand, your left hand, the person who made life worth living. For those of you who are in Him, there's a certain reunion. That's the promise. There's a day without tears, no more tears, an eternity where grief is entirely banished. And a Father, get this, a perfect Father who hears every cry, every whisper in the middle of the night, and is standing next to you, right next to you, in all of those uncontrollable, unrelenting waves of grief. He knows your name and He cares. So if you're in the grip of grief today, remind yourself of those truths. You are not alone. For Debra and the entire Morning Light team, I'm Jeff Coleman. Thanks for watching. Go check on and encourage your neighbors. We'll see you again tomorrow morning.